1811 4000। यही कंज्यूमर हेल्पलाइन।
जागो ग्राहक जागो।
Big corporations which are spearheading India's retail revolution were taken on by tens of thousands of people representing associations of farmers, traders, hawkers and even chemists from all over the country. A big rally at Mumbai's Azad Maidan sought to protect the livelihood of small merchants against the plans of large Indian retailers like Reliance Fresh, Bharti Retail and foreign giants such as Walmart stores. The protesters converged at the Azad Maidan. The APMC market, one of Mumbai's biggest wholesale hubs for vegetables, was shut. Organized under the 2-year-old National Movement for Retail Democracy or NMRD, the protesters are demanding that big corporations quit the retail business. The protests are just the latest example of the growing backlash against the push to establish chains of supermarkets and the infrastructure to support them. Well, let's now take a look at the big players who have already entered the Indian retail market or are in the process of doing so. Reliance Retail is the most visible name right now, with the store signs visible in and around markets in many big cities as well as small towns. Bharti, better known for its telecom forays, plans to become a major player, with its tie-up with Walmart looking at retail stores by the end of the year or early next year. Kolkata-based RPG Enterprises has also taken the plunge with its range of Spencer stores. The other big player in the same league is Tesco, which is in talks to tie up with the Tatas. Organized retail players are defending their own cause and claiming that smaller shops and retail chains are not mutually exclusive. They can enhance employment.
The billion-dollar expansion plan of Reliance and Spencer's may be hitting unexpected roadblocks. But big players in organized retail say they are not competing with the unorganized sector.
There is no way that any big format store will wipe out a small format store. As far as Spencer's is concerned, we are not in the discount game. We are not in the Sabse Sasta platform. No communication of Spencer's will you ever see it is Sabse Sasta. We have been operating for 10 years in Chennai. Have you ever heard anyone complaining in Chennai that they have got wiped out of business or they've been done out of business or they've got impacted?
And instead of eliminating jobs, the 10,000 billion rupee worth organized retail players who are facing a talent shortage and rising employment costs to almost 3% of turnover see a huge potential in the 40 million people employed in the unorganized sector by leveraging the depth and scale of retail experience that Kirana store owners have, and are hence exploring opportunities to attract and retain this latent talent pool.
I sincerely hope what happened in the developed markets would happen here, which is that Kirana store, I don't see Kirana store owners moving, but of course the children who would look at potential employment with retailers like ourselves, sure.
Even though over-congestion, price wars, margin pressures, rising employment costs threaten to turn potential friends into enemies, corporates which continue to plunge into the retail foray may pay heed by taking a lesson or two from their humble neighbours. In Mumbai, Meghna Pant for NDTV.
So on the X Factor, the question we're asking, rallying against retail, will big supermarkets benefit the consumer but in fact hurt small shops? Well, joining us now in our studios is Dr. Praveen Khandelwal. He's the Secretary General of the Confederation of All India Traders. Also, Prof.S.R.Khanna, Managing Trustee, Consumer Voice. Mr. R.S. Roy, Convener, India Retail Forum. He's also the Editorial Director of Images Group, and we'll be using a report, that the India Retail Report of 2007, which he was the Editorial Director of a lot on this show. Also from Mumbai is Mr. Mohan Gurnani. He's the President, Federation of Associations of Maharashtra. Professor Khanna, if I can come to you first. We've seen large economic growth. One of the factors that's had is increasing middle class, upper class spending or rural rich spending. So one of the increase in demands has been for, say, in food and grocery items, better quality products, competitive prices, all under one roof, larger choice. Is there anything wrong with that?
Well, there's certainly nothing wrong with that, because if the consumer gets a better product at a lower price, and if there's a complaint, there's a replacement without questions, I think it's something that is in consumer interest. And in the process of economic development, the restructuring of any industry is inevitable, whether it's the retail industry or it's the manufacturing industry or the service industry. So what we are looking at is little painful for small retailers because they lose sales and they might lose jobs. But the change is inevitable. You might have it in 10 years, you might stretch it for 20 years. Right. But it's on its way.
Change is on its way. Mr. Khandelwal, is it not possible to have change with continuity? What really are your demands? Are you trying to elongate the process, that it takes a longer time for big retail to come in? Because as Professor is saying here, it's inevitable.
See, but change at what cost? You are inviting the corporate retailers to monopolize the retail trade. It has happened in Indonesia, China, Japan, Thailand and so many other countries. They are working on predatory pricing policy, and which is completely in contravention of the Competition Act. I am afraid
predatory. What do you mean by that? That they can undercost
selling the commodity below the cost, keeping into consideration their infrastructure, their advertising budget, and every else factor.
Sure.
Definitely, right at the moment, they are selling at a very low cost, just in order to wipe out the competition. And once the competition is wiped out, then they are going to dominate the price factor.
That's one argument that you've given. But just looking at the larger numbers, in terms of the numbers of consumers there in this country and the number of farmers, because it does also appear that cutting out all the middlemen on the route from the farm to the fork, as they say, means that the farmers are also getting better prices, and so are the consumers. So in the larger interest of the number of people, don't you think it...
See, with regard to the case of farmers, unfortunately, because of their large infrastructure, they are able to develop a gimmick that farmer is the ultimate beneficiary. But this is not the case. Today definitely they are paying a good price to a farmer, but they are also entering into a rate contract with the farmer for 2 years or a period more than that. And what will happen after 2 years? After 2 years, they will ask that farmer to part with his agricultural land and will employ that farmer as an employee. This is exactly what has happened.
That's your side of the story. If I can get in, Mr. Roy. He cited many different countries who've gone through this process. Could you enlighten us a little bit more?
Well, I'll give you 3-4 examples. You see, when we moved from Tonga carts to trams or buses, the Tonga was charging about, say, 1 rupee for a kilometer, and the buses came. You know, they charge only 1 rupee for maybe 20 kilometers. Did all the Tonga Walas died? Did they not move up in their career? So what are we talking about? When the mills came, did all our weavers die? After 60 years of independence, our farmers are dying. And he's talking about the farmers, has it happened anywhere in the world that Walmart has started stores and they have contract farming with the farmers, and after 5 years they took them over? Has it happened anywhere in the world?
So it hasn't.
Absurd.
Let me get in another voice here. Mohan Gurnani joins us from Mumbai. Mr. Gurnani, is there no way that you can see, as is being pointed out here by 2 voices, a third dissenting voice, that the small store owners or those who run small stores can be incorporated into this retail chain in some way to their benefit?
Well, that doesn't seem to be a workable solution. Because these large corporate houses and Walmart and all these multinationals, they as Praveenji rightly said, they indulge in predatory prices, wipe out the competition, and then exploit the consumer as well. I mean, India by and large, the Indian trader has the least margin. That's the Reserve Bank finding. I mean, Indian consumer gets much cheaper than the rest of the world.
But also when we go to the small shops, even now, you see the point there is that they're being undercut, that you're paying more there for a lesser quality product.
Is the maximum retail price.
Yeah.
You go to 20 retailers, 19 of them will not sell you below MRP. But I know of large format retailers who give you a bill, MRP so much, you save so much. मुझे पैसा बच रहा है. If I am going to save with a large format, I don't have any loyalty to, my life doesn't run around a retailer's shop. If I get a better option as a consumer, I'll move. And of course, the retailer has to compete.
Sure.
He can offer a better service, he can deliver the home to my home, he can give me credit, he will still live. So let's not fool ourselves to say that because some large formats have been open, India's retailers are resilient. Even today, small retailers dominate in Italy, in Europe after 50 years.
We're talking about it's about 95% of the retail is done in small shops.
7 lakh crore market.
Absolutely. And also, just when I look at the figures that have been put out here, even though you're talking about 17 lakh crore rupees for the whole retail sector as such, when you look at the organized sector in terms of food and groceries, it's something like 0.8% of the whole
The
pie.
total organized retailing is in about 3%.
Do you have something to worry about?
Yes, of course. We are talking about the interest of consumer. My one simple question, that these corporate retailers, if they are selling a particular commodity today at a X price, will they be selling the same commodity after a period of 3 years when there will be no competition?
Why will there not be competition? The big chains are competing with themselves also.
Not at all.
Why do you feel that?
Because today the retail trade is in the hands of, say, about 5 crores of traders across country. But when this trade will skews into 50 big corporate houses, definitely they are going to make a cartel, and there will be a monopolistic retail trade in the country, and then they are going to dictate the price. And today, suppose if X commodity is being sold at 20 rupees, after a period of time, it will be sold at 30 or 40 rupees. If they are so convinced about their role in retail trade, let them confess here that whatever price we are charging, that price will remain continuous after 3 years.
Okay, let me just shift this from pricing to another fact that we have here when we're talking about employment generation. Mr. Gurnani, if I can come to you in Mumbai, we've seen, according to figures that we have, that employment has been going up in the retail sector. It's said to, over the next 2 years, go up by another 2 million or so. Over the last 2 years, figures show that retail jobs have not really been lost.
This is a misguiding fact. In fact, it is not a fact at all. You see, yes, the employment has gone up in the recent past because the malls have opened up and there is employment in the malls. But over a period of time, when the small traders around the malls are out of business, what about that unemployment that is created? I mean, you might employ 100 or 200 people in a mall, but what about 1,000 retailers and hawkers that are displaced due to that? I mean, we don't take into that into consideration at all.
Mr. Roy, if I can just come to you and try and bring in another element into this. If we look at the political groupings that are supporting, say, today's protests, we look at them mostly left-centric, even the Congress coming out in support now. And who are they supporting? They're really supporting the traditional vote bank of the BJP.
The unfortunate thing has been that after 60 years of independence, we still, because we could not, create employment opportunities in the country, we let our people beg, borrow, steal. Okay, and shopkeeping became the easiest occupation, and they grabbed land wherever possible. They build markets, they build shops. In their house, you build, create a counter, and then you expand. You go on the footpath, you grab the road, and we call ourselves very, proudly a nation of shopkeepers. Is that we look at the quality, what we are consuming. I'm scared. The vegetables are artificially scented. They are artificially colored. Is that what we, or the filthy markets? Don't we want that? We want a clean, hygienic atmosphere. The Golgappa, you see, is the favorite this thing
Street
of our. But I'm scared. I don't want to fall sick.
Okay, sure. So college is a big point. You wanted to make a point, Professor.
I don't agree with him. The shopkeeper's right to trade under the Constitution is as good as
absolutely
Walmart or anybody else.
Market forces come into play.
Trade. If those who are supporting small retailers like him and his unions and the Chandas, if they are really serious, then let them announce concessions, that we will allow the smaller retailers to compete against the big sales tax MAF, VAT MAF, income tax MAF. We'll give them benefits and allow them to compete. We'll ensure there is no predatory pricing. They'll have quick mechanism in the Competition Commission to slap any large retailer who does predatory pricing. You can have the rules,
sure,
but you can't shut out development.
So why can a regulatory mechanism not come in, which is evolved with the advice of lots of experts, not just with one side?
We have requested the government of India so many times that there should be an independent study on the impact of entry of corporate retailers into retail trade, because all the more, whenever you want to take any decision, you will have to have certain kind of study with you. Unfortunately, that study was given to ICRIER, the company which has earlier supported the entry of FDI into retail trade. Okay. I fully agree with what Mr. Khanna says. But if really the entry of corporate retailers is beneficial to the country, let there be a public debate on the merits and demerits of the case.
And let the public vote on that, and you'll go by what the public says?
We are going to, we will participate into any public debate if they are so convinced about their role. But at the same time, you cannot play with the lives of those thousands and lakhs of people who are already involved in the business.
Point taken, Mr. Khandelwal, Professor Khanna, R.S. Roy and Mohan Gurnani. We do hope that India is a large enough country for both the small and the large fish to survive. Well, coming up, from large retail chains coming to India outsourcing its creativity.